Emma's fingers brushed dust off an old clay wheel tucked in her garage, forgotten between deflated pool floats and a crockpot missing its lid. 45 years of Seattle drizzle had seeped into her bones, but this was thing that once made her pulse steady. Memories rushed in. Community BBQs where she'd clutched a margarita, nodding too hard small talk, while her hands ached to shape something real. Back then, spinning clay meant drowning out voices asking why she wasn't married yet. Now, maybe it could be her voice. Emma's fingers brushed dust off an old clay wheel. Its hum a forgotten lullaby from college days when she'd spun more than pottery, dreams mostly, before anxiety wrapped her in its clingy embrace like Seattle's infamous drizzle. 45 years in, she still startled doorbells, mistook compliments for covert jabs. But today that will whispered back. Her first attempt wobbled like a toddler on espresso, clay collapsing into a lopsided pancake. Emma snorted, fitting really. Life had flattened her enough times, why not clay? Yet each messy try felt lighter, fingers remembering what her mind had buried. Imperfection wasn't failure, just raw material. Between sessions she'd sneak glances Pike Place Market's potters, their hands steady as ferry boats in fog. Community center BBQs became her unlikely rehearsal. Balancing a plate of grilled salmon, overcooked per Seattle tradition, she'd nod neighbors instead of bolting to her car. Progress, like her mugs, was lumpy but held heat. Then came exhibition flyer. Submit your work. Her stomach knotted like tangled yarn. But that wheel, scuffed, stubborn, had been her silent co-conspirator. She pictured her college self, all bold glazes and no apologies, and registered. Opening night, her vase stood among sleeker pieces, its uneven ridges catching light like Puget Sound sunset. A stranger lingered, tracing its curves. Feels alive, they murmured. Emma's laugh was quiet, victorious. Clay had cracked her open one spin a time. Emma's fingers brushed dust off an old clay wheel, its grooves worn smooth by decades of hands just like hers. Hands that had fumbled before finding rhythm. 45 and convinced she'd missed her shot reinvention, she'd signed up for a pottery class on a whim, lured by studio's neon mud happens sign. First session, she'd cracked a bowl so lopsided it could have doubled as a modern art statement. But instructor, a no-nonsense woman named Rosa with forearms like twisted rope, just shrugged. Clay's forgiving. Unlike people. Seattle's drizzle blurred studio windows as Emma returned week after week, her social jitters softening with each spin of wheel. She learned to lean into mistakes. A collapsed vase became a planter. A wobbly mug gained charm with glaze. Rose's crew, a mix of retirees and harried moms, traded tips over community BBQs where Emma, once hesitant, now brought her infamous crumbly but sincere blackberry cobbler. Laughter over botched handles felt easier than small-talk corporate mixers. Then came flyer for annual Pike Place pottery exhibition. Rosa slid it across work table, a challenge in her smirk. Emma's stomach nodded, but beneath it hummed something new. Late nights, her apartment filled with earthy scent of wet clay as she practiced, her hands remembering what her mind doubted. Day of show, her pieces sat among others, her imperfectly centered collection tagged with a price she never thought her work would command. A woman in a raincoat paused, tracing a thumb over a bowl's uneven rim. Feels alive, she murmured. Emma's breath caught. Clay wasn't about control. It was about conversation with material, with oneself, with strangers who might become fam walking home. She pocketed a stray lump of clay from her bag, rolling it between her palms. Will had taught her this. Nothing was truly broken unless you stopped spinning. Emma's fingers brushed dust off an old clay wheel, its hum a quiet dare. 45 years of avoiding crowds, yet here she was, wedged between chatter and clinking mugs, a community center barbecue. Not her scene until now. That Will had called her bluff. First attempts were disasters. Clay collapsed like bat soufflés. But Emma wasn't some wilting fern. She'd survived 3 layoffs and a divorce. A little mud rebellion wasn't gonna break her. She pushed sleeves up, inhaled earth scent, and let muscle memory argue with fear. Centering clay became centering herself. Each wobble a reminder that imperfection wasn't failure, just part of spin. Months in, her knuckles knew rhythm. Mornings began with coffee and coils. Evenings with glazing experiments that turned her kitchen into a mad scientist's lab. Her shelves groaned under lopsided bowls, but pride swelled in their cracks. Still doubt crept in. Who'd want her amateur pot some fancy exhibition? Then she caught her reflection. Flower-streaked, grinning like she'd outsmarted gravity, and signed up anyway. Opening night buzzed with strangers. Emma's pulse raced, but her hand stayed steady, tracing a thumb along her favorite piece's rim. It wasn't flawless, but damn if it didn't hold its ground. Someone murmured praise. She nearly choked on her own surprise. Turns out sharing art wasn't about perfection. It was about showing up, stubborn as clay on a wheel. By summer's end, her creations sat in neighbors' homes. Fam even requested custom mugs for next barbecue. Emma still hated small talk, but now she had a secret weapon. Muddy palms and stories baked into every curve. That old wheel? It hadn't just shaped pottery. It had spun her right into heart of things, one imperfect, glorious piece at a time. Emma's fingers brushed dust off an old clay wheel, its grooves worn smooth by decades of touch. 45 years of hesitating, of shrinking into corners community BBQs while others laughed easily, melted away as she pressed damp palms against cool stone. This was her rebellion, not loud but steady. She'd signed up for exhibition on a whim, heart hammering like a rookie's first spin. Skeptical glances from regulars, polished artists who'd scoffed her lopsided bowls, only fueled her. Let them stare. Clay didn't judge. It bent, cracked, reshaped, just like her. Day of show, creator hauled her pieces in, one wobbling vase threatening to topple. A snicker rippled through crowd. Then disaster. Her centerpiece, a swirling platter glazed midnight blue, slipped. Gasps. But instead of shattering, it bounced. Once. Twice. Settled intact. Room erupted. Someone yelled. That's some Seattle stubborn right there. Laughter tangled with applause. Then came twist. A local influencer, known for roasting basic crafts, snapped a pic mid-guffaw. By sundown, bounce goals trended. Workshop requests flooded in. Suddenly, women twice her age and teens with nervous eyes asked how she made anxiety look like art. Standing before her first class, creator guided trembling hands to wheel. Messed up? Good, she murmured. Means you're brave enough to try. A skeptic in back, arms crossed, blinked when her own lumpy mug emerged, kinda charming. Crowd roared. As clay spun into something new, Emma grinned. No more hiding. This was where she belonged. Knees muddy, heart light, proving even cracked pieces could hold gold. Fam, sometimes life's a wonky vase. Throw it anyway. Emma's fingers brushed dust off an old clay wheel. Its hum a whisper from another life. 45 years of people-pleasing had left cracks deeper than any glaze could fill. Until now. That first wobbly bowl? A hot mess. But spinning clay became spinning freedom. Each centering motion steadied her breath, her pulse, her too loud thoughts. Seattle's drizzle couldn't dampen her new rhythm. She traded frantic small talk for quiet camaraderie of shared studio space, where misfit mugs bonded folks faster than community BBQs. Odd habit. She named every wonky vase after ex-bosses. Nothing like turning Karen into a succulent planter to cure performance anxiety. Then came exhibition. Not some stuffy gallery show, but a pop-up in a converted laundromat, where neighbors clapped for lopsided teapots like they were Picasso. Emma guided trembling hands of first-timers, their nervous laughter mixing with wet clay's earthy scent. That wheel? Now a beacon. No more hiding behind just a hobby, this was building fam through fingerprints. 1 year later, her Imperfectly Yours collective runs weekend throwdowns for anxious souls. Turns out, getting your hands dirty is cheaper than therapy and twice as loud. Shape your brave. Spin your story, mud's waiting.